Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is July 11th and it's my weekly shop update. So this week I'm starting on the Sideboard Project. I also have been working on the linking chain mechanism for the sawmill, and I have some blanks for turning more of those hammer handle things. So first, let's take a look at the sideboard stock or whatever I have around me here. I have wood in the shop again. It's kind of nice. So I am doing a sideboard project over in the guild this summer. That'll be the summer build in the guild from me. And I'll be doing it out of walnut, which is going to be interesting because the whole sideboard is kind of more of a shaker influence. And typically with that you see those done in cherry. But I think walnut's going to be pretty interesting. I have some really nice pieces of wood that I think are going to kind of come together to create a really nice piece. So the sideboard, if you take a look at the front and the two sides, you basically have 6 panels that go around the perimeter of the visible case. So you have a side panel with 4 door panels and then the other side panel. So what I have for the panels on there, which I'm pretty excited about, are these pieces of crotch here. And these have 2 actual crotches in them. So it's one limb that comes out this way, there's one limb that comes out this way, and then the rest of the trunk actually continues straight up. So I have 2 pieces of, I guess, there we go. I have 2 pieces of crotch figures, so I have a double crotch feather in those pieces. And what I plan to do with that, since I have 2 pieces that are about 8/4, I should be able to resaw those and get those 6 panels all consecutive so that the grain is all consecutive from the side, the front 2 doors, to the other 2 front doors, to the other side. So you have this really cool continuous, kind of almost continuous, it's not a book match, it'd be more like a slip match probably, all the way around the whole case, which should look pretty cool. I also have a lot of stock, or I still have a few pieces of stock from the same tree that I'll try and get the rest of the frame panel for all the visible stuff out of. But I'd also have a bunch of miscellaneous walnut boards like these that are just kind of leftovers from other trees. So the grain doesn't quite match the primary ones, and these ones I'll use for the internals and probably the back of the case, which will also be a frame panel. So for the drawers, I have some spruce that I'm going to use. That was from the tree that was growing in my neighbor's front yard, so I want to use up some of that. I think it's going to look really nice against the walnut, and it should also be pretty interesting to dovetail that. I haven't dovetailed softwood since I first tried to do dovetails a long time ago. Dovetailing on a soft species is very difficult. You need very sharp tools, and it's just like a totally different experience than dovetailing on any kind of hardwood. So maybe I might regret that, but we'll see. So the sideboard project is still on pre-order in the guild, and if you bundle that with 2 other pre-order projects, you can get up to 40% off. So I'll leave a link to that down below if you want to check that out and follow along with that as it's happening. Next up, I got some sawmill stuff going on. So I'm in the process of the next round of paint on parts. So these are the side stops for the mill that I finally got paint on. These are the PV and can hooks, which have paint on them. And the 3 parts that I made this week for the lift mechanism are this guy, and where'd the other one go? And this guy. So this part and that part over there will help to redirect the chain to the outside front corners of the carriage to leave the top cavity of the carriage open so the motor can kind of come up through the top of the whole carriage. And so the sprockets will go on to these mounting bolts will be out here. And since in the plans this one just gets called for, this little 45 piece gets welded to the front of the carriage, but since I already have the whole thing assembled and it's painted already and it's 9 feet in the air, I decided to make one that just bolts on. So these 2 parts are very similar. This one is a fixed one, which just bolts right to the carriage, and this one here actually slides. So these little tabs allow it to slip over the top of the carriage, and then it can slide back and forth. And that slide mechanism is controlled by this little piece here, just a nut welded to a piece of angle that a bolt will go in, so that'll push against here, tensioning the chain. So that'll take care of all of that. So this is coming along as well. So I'm playing around with some resin as well. These are some more blanks for those brass mallets for the handles. These guys right here. So this is a piece of the wood that I used for these handles here. except I did not stabilize this with the stabilizing resin. I cast it completely in a slow set epoxy. So I wanted to see how a slow set epoxy kind of makes the things a little different, or kind of changes the game a little bit, because this stuff takes days to cure. It stays very low viscosity for about 24 hours, which gives it a lot of time to penetrate this really soft wood. And at the same time, since this wasn't a full piece, it was just like a kind of a shard, there's a lot of empty space and a lot of cavities in here. So I thought it'd be interesting to see if you can cast and stabilize in one step with a slow setting resin. I'm sure someone's done that before, but I just had that curiosity in my mind. I have the resin, I have the wood, I have the desire to try it. The other thing I have here, this is a brass shavings blank. So when Dima comes over with his big stick of hex stock brass and we cut it up into all the little lengths that become the heads for these hammers, I get a lot of brass shavings. Like, here's a bucket of them off of my saw. So I thought it might be kind of interesting to try and cast a blank to make a handle that's just out of brass shavings. So slow set epoxy again in the vacuum chamber, brass shavings. It looks like it's pretty solid all the way through, but I'll see for sure when I drill for the mounting stud. But this is going to be a really unique piece because it will be a brass handle, brass head hammer, and this blank already weighs about 18 ounces. It's not light at all, so there's going to be some mass in this thing. So that's what I'm up to this week. Let's take a look at some viewer projects. First this week is a playing card box by Stefan. Stefan says this box is a bit of a traditional thing in his area. Normally the box is made out of a conifer wood and is crested with nice carvings. This one is made with an outer shell of oak and the inner chamber is made of a tropical hardwood. The box can be opened by sliding the top, and that's the way the traditional designs of these boxes are opened. Next is a wall cabinet by Bryson. Bryson made this cabinet for one of his teachers at school as a graduation present. It's made from walnut and oak and finished with Danish oil and wax. This is the second Kumiko panel that Bryson's made. He says there's definitely room for improvement, but overall it turned out great. Next is an entry table by Charles. Charles says he finally got around to making his first piece of furniture. The top is made from an old beam that they were replacing in their basement. He hand planed it flat and smooth and finished it by burning the wood, sanding it smooth, and giving a coat of Danish oil. Last this week is a coffee table by Ore. It's made from European oak and features walnut wedges. This was his first coffee table build and also his first time turning the legs for a table. It's a Scandinavian style, but also has a Japanese influence. You can find a great video over on his YouTube channel that goes over making this table. You'll definitely want to check that out. So that's about it for me this week. I'll be trucking along with the sawmill stuff as they get the paint applied to that. We're supposed to have thunderstorms here the next couple of days, so the whole painting while it's raining thing seems to be working out pretty well. So the linking mechanism is almost done, which means the sawmill is almost back together and almost completely done. And it's almost time I start cutting stuff up again. Woo! So that's about it for me this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today, anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment, as I'll be happy to answer questions you might have. Breath. And until next time, happy woodworking.